Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me at the back. First of all, thank you for the organizers of this wonderful conference. I know as a country we are going through some, I think, trying times, and I hope, we emerge victorious from whatever it is that we are trying to achieve here. Um, and I don't know whether I'm the guy who's standing between you and lunch, which is always a very tricky slot. But I'm going to try and keep it really quick to talk about, this whole revolution around, utilizing, data, right? Because suddenly the spotlight for the last couple of years has been grabbed by, AI and more specifically generative AI, and I think for all the right reasons. But when you kind of, take a step back and look at the immense possibilities that AI can deliver, to you as retail organizations, I think the fundamental thing is that you got to get your data strategy right. Your AI can only go as far as the quality of the data that you have, allows you to do that. So I just want to spend a few minutes on that. Again, as I said, I want to thank you for all traveling from various parts of the world, and I mean from India, I guess, and being here. Um, I represent Salesforce, obviously a technology company. We believe that technology, of course, is really going to make a huge difference in the lives of retailers, around the world. And we've been doing this for the last, 25 plus years. And I think, we've had the privilege and the good fortune of working with some leading brands around the world. And, we've learned a few things along the way. I think, the sessions in the past, they've all highlighted the fact that how, customers' expectations have changed, right? Some expectations have changed, some have remained the same. And therefore, it is very confusing for a retailer or a brand to figure out what it is that they want so that you can provide that service to them in a manner that really, makes them happy or makes it a memorable experience. And of course, there's also this challenge of, running a business sustainably and profitably, right? And how do I continue to grow the business in an economically, viable, way, which has always been a perennial problem, right? And then, the third dimension, of course, is the pace at which technology is changing and sweeping through our industry is just really unprecedented. I think it's safe to say that, some of the key things that retailers are worried about today is, how do I deliver that unified experience to my customers? How do I, retain them? How do I nurture the relationship with them that I've built over a year or two or perhaps longer than that? And how do I get them to keep coming back to my stores, right? And how do I cater that experience that is memorable and personalized to them so that it doesn't feel like, it is a generic experience that I'm giving to everybody? Because if it is really turning out to be just a transaction, then, you might as well do it online. But if you're a physical retailer, you need to be able to deliver something a lot more personalized. And how do I do it, in an efficient manner, keeping costs under control? So this is something that I think is on the top of mind of executives and boards around the world, including India. To address some of these things, retailers I think must transform at a very unprecedented rate. We are entering uncharted waters in some sense with a lot of the new technologies, even threatening to replace human labor. So we'll have to see how that pans out and how India as a market reacts to that. But I think at the end of the day, it boils down to some 3 or 4 things, right? One is, can I deliver a unified experience? Can I, scale my business and still be able to deliver that level of personalization? And how do I, use AI in a manner that is going to make my employees productive? How do I, make AI work with humans and not look at the dimension of AI replacing humans? And this is something that has to be really, thought through. You have to think about the use cases that ultimately are going to make this combination very powerful, right? AI working alongside humans is what at least we believe is the future. And ultimately, bridging the gap between, physical and digital. Um, and I think, AI is not necessarily, something that is new to us. It's been around. I think, the word AI itself was coined I think, way back in 1954 or 1955, right? So this is not necessarily, new technology, but of course there has been a lot of recent developments, especially after the publishing of the Transformer paper, if you're interested in those kinds of things, that Google published. And then this whole aspect of, generative AI really, took off with these, large models becoming really powerful and being able to do so many things. And now we are at an age where these models can reason and help you to take action and, plan certain activities or tasks. So there is a lot of capability that is being built up, in a very, very quick fashion, right? And it has a very direct impact on the industry that we all, belong to. But that doesn't mean that, traditional AI is of no use anymore, right? There is still a lot of use in terms of, predictive analytics and so on and so forth. And I think that itself is still quite untapped, if you ask me, based on my conversations, with a lot of retailers. So the way we look at this whole emerging landscape is kind of represented on this, sort of this half donut or whatever you want to call it, is we see data becoming a central pillar to everything that you do from this point onwards, right? A unified data platform that helps you to collect data from various sources, disparate sources, customer information, harmonize the data, create a golden record of your customers, enrich that customer's profile with every single interaction or every single touch point that you're having, because this is not going to happen overnight, right? You have to really be patient, but you have to invest in a platform that brings together data and really provides the glue, so to speak, that ultimately you can use to deliver those personalized messages or services and offers and promotions and so on and so forth. So that's the sort of the fundamental pillar, and I can't emphasize enough that you cannot have a generative AI strategy without having a data strategy, right? You have to actually start with data strategy, figure out what it means to you and your company, how you're going to leverage data for the benefit of your customers. And then AI and generative AI more specifically becomes a tool or a weapon that you have in your sort of quiver that you can apply in certain situations. It may not be required everywhere, but yeah, if it makes sense, go ahead and use it, right? And then you have this agentic layer, and this is again something that is the reality is going to be sooner than we think. You have all kinds of agents that will be in your enterprise environment. There are already a lot of consumer-facing agents that there's some of the big guys like Amazon and even OpenAI, for example, has released a shopper agent. You might have heard of DeepSeek and Manus from China. These are what we call as computer-readable agents, right, or CRAs. So whatever you do on a website, you go log in, you browse the website, you say, this is the kind of bag I want a red color, I want this to be made of artificial leather, I want the price to be less than 5,000 rupees. Guess what? That, whatever I just described in the last 30 seconds is something that an agent can do today, right? And it can, if you authorize it, it can even go ahead, use your credit card, plug in that information and make that purchase on your behalf, right? So this is the reality that we are in today, and therefore you have to figure out what is your play with these kinds of advancements that are happening. And so I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to really wrap this up very quickly. And I think there are use cases that span the entire length of your organization, right? But the only thing I would encourage all of you to do is to be really thoughtful about it. Start with data, understand what the data can do for you. Can it give you a competitive edge? Can it make that experience better? Is it going to make your employees more efficient or more productive? Are they able to do more tasks in a lesser amount of time? Or are they going to be able to do it more accurately with less errors? So you have to really think through what it is that you want to achieve out of that. And once you are clear about the use cases and the prioritization of those use cases and how they are going to help you as an organization move forward, then you make those investments. Of course, experiments and prototypes are always good. In fact, a lot of the customers that I talk to, they are in that stage. But once you move from that small scale implementation to a large scale enterprise-wide deployment and ultimately facing your consumers, you really need to have a proper strategy in place, right? And as you can see on the screen, there is phenomenal potential in terms of automation of workflows, providing personalized experiences to your customers, in the work of, creative marketing, generating content. So there are, there are a lot of, abundance of use cases that are out there. And in fact, to be honest with you, there are a lot of tools that can also help you to do that, right? But you just need to sort of, bring back the focus, go back to basics of data, and really think for yourself in terms of, what the differentiation is for your organization, because there is also this, phenomenon of, FOMO, right? Everybody else is doing it, so therefore I've got to do it, which is fine to some extent, but I think you've got to really step back and think about, what's good for you, and then, go ahead and, try it out before you, take the big leap. I will close my presentation. I think that's all I have the time for. Just want to again emphasize, agents is coming. It's probably in your rear view mirror, and as it says, objects in the mirror are, closer than closer than they appear. So they are really, right at our doorstep. But please get your data strategy right, and then look at apps that can, give you that edge, and then, leverage, agentic computing, for making a real difference at the end of the day. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and, thank you.